G'day and welcome back to Epicbirds. My name's Michael Huxley and today I'm coming to you straight from the Royal Safari Camp in Gujarat in the far northwest of India. So a lot has happened since the last update. At that point we were situated near Hampi in Karnataka. After that we caught an overnight sleeper bus for 12 hours all the way up to Goa, which is an old Portuguese settlement on the west coast of India. So there's some interesting history there. I didn't spend much time looking at birds around Goa, but there was a patch of scrub not far from where we were staying, and in there I was lucky enough to come across a rufous teepee as well as this magnificent racket-tailed drongo. The tail streamers on this bird are unbelievable. They're much longer than the bird itself. So to see that up close was great. We spent Christmas in Goa, and then after that caught another long haul overnight bus for 18 hours all the way up to the Elora Caves. So the Elora Caves are without a doubt a highlight of the trip so far. They are not constructed using stone blocks like all of the other temples that we've seen so far. Instead, they were actually carved out of the cliff face. Okay, so all of the temples are actually one piece of stone, and they've literally been carved out of the cliff face. So it just is astonishing that that was conceived of in the first place, and that it was actually done to such a high standard. It's a truly remarkable place to explore. So we spent half a day or so walking around and exploring the different temples there. So that was a highlight of the trip. A really amazing place. After the Elora Caves, we caught another overnight sleeper bus up to Ahmedabad, which is in Gujarat. These sleeper buses are certainly an experience. We've spent a couple of days now, literally a couple of days worth of time on sleeper buses, trying to sleep, not very successfully. I've actually been bounced off of the mattress. So they say these buses have air suspension. I'm not seeing a lot of evidence of that. So yeah, it's certainly been an experience. We have a lot more buses to go. We can't get on the trains at the moment. The trains are booked out a long way in advance. So getting on a train is impossible for us at the moment. So we have to make use of the sleeper bus. Anyway, we arrived in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, and then we were driven out to Barjana, where we stayed at the Royal Safari Camp. And we've taken so far 3 safaris out from the safari camp into a region known as the Little Ran of Kutch, which is a massive area of lakes and salt marshes, and it's home to a staggering amount of bird life as well as wild asses. So yesterday we took a safari early in the morning. We saw the wild asses, which was great to see, and after that we've taken a couple of other safaris, and I spent a lot of time photographing a range of different birds. And so far the highlight was definitely seeing a group of 3 short-eared owls. So our guide somehow spotted these birds resting underneath the acacia shrubs. I have no idea how he spotted it. It was so incredibly well camouflaged, but he saw it, and we managed to get quite close in the Jeep, and I was able to get a lot of photos and a lot of video of these beautiful short-eared owls. So that was a highlight. We've also seen large numbers of flamingos, as well as flocks of bar-headed geese. I ended up covered in mud trying to get close enough to these beautiful geese. The sheer quantity of bird life in these wetlands is exceptional. Driving along in the Jeep, we came across a great cuckoo, similar to our Australian cuckoo, but probably a little bit larger and with quite different coloration. Another highlight for me was witnessing this peregrine falcon. We saw the bird fly overhead and then land a few hundred meters away on a stone. We approached in the jeep and I ended up as close as I've ever been to a peregrine falcon. This is the Indian thickney. There was a large group of these exceptionally well camouflaged birds hiding in the acacia scrub on the roadside. I would never have found them if it wasn't for my very keen-eyed guide. At the water's edge, large numbers of oriental pratincoles were resting. I climbed out of the jeep and was lying in the mud to get a nice low shot of these elegantly plumaged birds. And we were exceptionally lucky to encounter a pair of white-tailed lapwings which were feeding at the water's edge. There were large numbers of crested larks feeding on the floodplain. We were lucky to spot a group of exceptionally well camouflaged chestnut-breasted sand grouse which were resting in a field. I was extremely lucky to get these shots because these birds are so well camouflaged that usually the first sign that they're in the area is when they fly out from under your feet. So to get this close to the birds while they were still resting on the ground was very, very lucky. Eurasian hoopoes were quite common in the Little Ran of Kutch. We came across several birds feeding on the ground. Driving back towards the Royal Safari Camp, my guide and I were lucky to see an Asian woolly-necked stork feeding in a field beside the road. So that's it for today's update. We have one more night here at the Royal Safari Camp in Gujarat. Then tomorrow night we'll be on a sleeper bus for 10 to 12 hours heading up to Jaisalmer. So with all of that, thank you very much for watching. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.